What's up guys, Gray here, welcome back. In today's video, I wanted to give you guys sort of a more in-game focused build. Been getting a lot of comments recently on some of the past builds saying, hey, these builds are great, but I need something for higher tier content. Things like Master and Grandmaster Nightfalls, the Master Raid, harder level dungeons, and I hear you completely. I like to do some builds at the beginning of the season that just utilize a bunch of the new stuff, but you're definitely right, we need some in-game builds, and luckily one of the new Warlock exotics is perfect for exactly that. So we're going to talk about a build I put together using the Osmiomancy Gloves, which is the new Warlock exotic that just came out this season. Now, if you can see by the background gameplay, these gloves are actually nuts. They literally give you unlimited grenade energy. You can just be tossing cold snaps over and over again with no cooldown. There's some mods we want to pair with this to make it viable for in-game content, so we're going to break it all down. If you guys enjoy the video, do me a favor, leave a like down below, smash that subscribe button, but let's get right into it and talk about the exotic, because it's going to be very important to the build. So the Osmiomancy Gloves are one of the new Warlock exotics that came out in the Witch Queen. These are a Stasis Exotic, and they have a really unique intrinsic trait. It has the Fervid Coldsnap perk, where your Coldsnap grenades have an additional charge that recharges quicker on direct impact. That's very important. We'll talk about that in a minute. And the Seeker spawn from Coldsnap grenades travels further. So not only do we get a second grenade, but like the exotic says, if you get a direct impact, if you hit the target with the physical grenade before it hits the ground, it almost refunds your entire grenade. It gives you a serious amount of grenade energy. It's actually nuts. You can see in these clips, I'm just running around tossing grenade after grenade, because if you just hit them, it refunds it and you can just keep going. It's crazy, even if they're already frozen. So these gloves are a lot better than I thought, and so I wanted to start putting together a build to really take it to that next level. Now, a lot of people's first instinct is to try and throw out 2 stasis turrets, which you can definitely do with Stasis Warlock, but there's a couple things to keep in mind, and it really doesn't work as good as you might think. Unfortunately, if we are using Bleak Watcher, this has a longer cooldown than the actual grenade itself. You can see this has a 2-minute and 32-second cooldown, where the Cold Snap itself just has a 2-minute cooldown, and that 30 seconds really makes a difference. It's going to put you outside of the cycle to where you can just have unlimited grenades, and having 2 cold snaps is more than enough. You can seriously freeze an entire room very, very easily without needing that turret. So let's take a look at it, starting with the aspects. We're going to want to take Glacial Harvest, where freezing targets creates a stasis shard right next to them. Higher tier combatants create more shards, so anytime we freeze something, we're going to get stasis shards. Then we're going to take Iceflare Bolts, where shattering a frozen target spawns additional Seekers that track and freeze other targets. This pairs perfectly with the build, keeps everything locked down and frozen, and easy to kill. Looking at the fragments, this is where it gets a little interesting. You can change some things here, but this is the setup that I found to be the most consistent for always having your grenade. The first one we're taking is Whisper of Torment, where we gain grenade energy each time we take damage. This is going to be happening all the time, giving us free grenade energy. We're going to take Whisper of Rending, where kinetic weapons do increased damage to stasis crystals and frozen targets. Everything is going to be frozen, so your kinetic weapon's just going to be doing extra damage all the time. We're going to take Whisper of Chains. While you're near a frozen target, you will take reduced damage from targets. This also gives us some extra recovery. We're always going to be close to frozen targets, so we can get that nice damage reduction. And then we will also take Whisper of Conduction, where nearby stasis shards will track to our position. So they sort of pull towards us. We don't really have to go and scoop them up. They just sort of magnetize to our character. And that's going to be very important when we take a look at the mods we're pairing with this subclass setup. Now, when it comes to the mods, I really wanted to make it so that it's just a perfect cycle of throwing your grenade and getting your grenade energy back. And I think I nailed it pretty good here. The most important mod we got to take right off the bat is Elemental Shards. This is a Stasis Elemental Well mod that makes it so Stasis Shards count as Stasis Elemental Wells. So every time we're freezing targets and making Stasis Shards, those are also going to count as Elemental Wells for us. We're going to take advantage of that by taking sort of a different mod here. We're going to take Elemental Charge. We become charged with light by picking up an Elemental Well. If the Elemental Well matches our subclass, we get 2 stacks of Charged with Light. Those stasis shards will count as stasis elemental wells, so we will get 2 stacks of Charged with Light every time we pick up a shard. To go along with the Charged with Light system, we're going to be using Firepower. This makes it so while charged with light, you regain a portion of your grenade energy when you use your grenade, and it consumes 1 stack of Charged with Light. You can see right here, very important, this mod's effect stacks with other copies of the mod. So you can see I'm actually using 2 copies of it. I have one on my chest and one on my legs. For 2 stacks, we get a nice chunk of grenade energy right off the bat every time we use our grenade. And we basically are always charged with light because we're always freezing things for shards. It's a really tight-knit cycle and it works really well. The final mod slot, we're going to be using Well of Restoration, which is another stasis elemental well that makes it so when we pick up a stasis elemental well, it gives us additional energy for our lowest ability. Whatever one has the longest cooldown left, it'll give us a nice little bump there. So that gives us back our Rift and our melee as well as our grenade. Just a nice little benefit. You could swap this out with a different mod if you wanted to, because it is a little expensive. It's really up to you. I do recommend using Grenade Kickstart on the Osmiomancy Gloves. Make these a stasis element and you can use this mod. Again, it gives you free grenade energy when you throw out your grenade. You could stack this twice if you wanted to, but being that we're going to take this into things like Grandmasters or Endgame content, we need room for champion mods. We need things like Unstoppable Pulse, and whatever we're going up against, we need room for that. So we got to keep a slot open for those champion mods. So that's the general rundown of the mods and the subclass. I want to touch on weapons real quick because there's some really great options that just got added to the game that are super unique and work really well with Stasis subclasses. The first one we're going to look at is the new Raid Fusion Rifle Deliverance. This thing is a godsend because it fills a void that has been present in Destiny for a long time. This is a kinetic slot fusion rifle that deals stasis damage, and it pairs perfectly with a ton of builds, especially if you're on stasis. The role I have here is almost perfect. It has Demolitionist and Successful Warm-Up. So each time we get a kill, the next charge time is faster, and each kill is giving me back my grenade lightning quick. It also deals stasis damage, so it'll shatter frozen targets, it'll cause the big explosion. It's really fun. It's like a stasis reservoir burst. You can sort of rig it up to work that way, and it's a lot of fun. You could also get Chill Clip on Deliverance. Chill Clip is amazing. I haven't gotten it yet on the Fusion, and that makes it so the top half of the mag deals slow damage. So it'll prime all these targets for freezing. It's going to slow everything down and play really nicely into the whole stasis theme here. So keep an eye out for that perk as well. And speaking of Chill Clip, on this rocket launcher, the craftable rocket launcher this season, the Palmyra B, you can get Chill Clip, and it's a ton of fun because it only has 1 rocket and every rocket has Chill Clip. So it's going to do some stasis damage there. It'll blow up frozen targets. It's a small little synergy. You could use anything else you really want in this heavy slot, but I wanted to play into the stasis theme and rock Chill Clip on as many weapons as I can because it's really fun if you can actually get it rolling. As far as your primary weapon, just take whatever you need for champions. I'm using a pulse rifle here with Unstoppable Pulse. This works perfectly well. If I need also something like anti-barrier, I'll swap on Arbalest. This has been a big one for me this season. That way I have anti-barrier and unstoppable. If I need to swap this out for overload, I can also do that. The last thing to mention here, of course, you want to keep this in mind with any grenade build. You want to go after 100 discipline if possible. This just makes everything so much more smooth. You never have any downtime with your grenade. You can constantly have it up. And then I would worry about things like recovery and strength so that you have your melee and your rift as often as possible. Now, this build is really great for in-game because Stasis does a lot of things to enemies that no other subclass can do. Things like overload champions, you can sort of just freeze them. It's almost like a discount overload. If you freeze them right, you can sort of stop them in their tracks and really give your team some room to breathe. You can be locking down rooms of mobs. You will be the crowd control god with this build. It's really, really fun. Fantastic for that in-game content that's coming up. I can't wait to take this build into Grandmasters. I might have to tweak it and fine-tune it a little bit based on the actual strikes themselves. This is a really great template to get started to build towards for in-game this season. Now, I usually do a recap of all the mods that you're going to want to run, but I don't want to waste too much of your time. Let me know if you missed that, if you want me to bring that back, but I want to keep the videos a little bit shorter, and I think this one's simple enough to where you can go back and look at the mods and get it set up for yourself. The only other thing I recommend is Lucent Finisher, which is an artifact mod. It's going to give you heavy ammo whenever you finish a champion. It's a really great mod to throw on if you have room. That's going to do it for the build, guys. I hope you enjoy it. Definitely get your hands on these new Warlock gloves because they are nuts. All of the new Stasis Exotics are actually crazy. I'm going to be doing a build with the new Hunter Exotic as well because it's cracked out of its mind. If you guys enjoyed the video, do me a favor, leave a like down below, smash that subscribe button, and I will catch you in the next one.